smells really good, Evan. Evan's cooking me dinner.
Cute.
How sexy. I cooked her dinner the other night, so she's cooking me dinner tonight. Okay, I've been recording. We need to start this, or else I'm gonna like lose my mind.
Okay.
And I'm gonna be out of wine. Okay. Hey. I love starting it like that because I think it's the most annoying way to start something.
Hey.
Welcome to the Ultimate Insiders. I'm Jill.
I'm Katie.
And this is episode 3 where we're talking about season 1, episode 3 of Gossip Girl titled Poison Ivy.
Yes.
It aired October 3rd, 2007.
October 3rd.
I wrote it down so we wouldn't have to like search it in the middle of the...
Good, because I was right about to search it.
Yeah.
And then I forgot where I was going.
So the
what's it called? What's the name of the episode?
Poison Ivy.
Poison Ivy.
I wish they had saved that like title, like that episode title.
For later.
For later, but that's just me. But also it worked.
I put it like the league.
Yeah, but this one worked too. I mean, it is what it is. But the synopsis for this episode, Katie, do you want to like take the like go through not necessarily the synopsis, but kind of just like a play-by-play?
Yeah, let me find what Wikipedia says about it.
It's smoky in my apartment.
So I'm on Wikipedia and I'm just realizing that apparently all of the references in the titles, like the title of the episodes, are all like film references
for the most
or book references.
Yeah.
I never realized that.
Really?
Not once. I also did not pay attention to the titles. I also did not pay attention to job titles. Okay, so the Wikipedia synopsis for season 1, episode 3, Poison Ivy. As the Upper East Side teens from Constance Billard and St. Jude's prepare for a much anticipated visit from the Ivy League representatives, Blair and Chuck uncover a scandalous secret about Serena that may not remain secret for much longer. Dan has his heart and future set out on the coveted usher position for the Dartmouth rep, only to be beat out by Nate, who has no interest in the school despite pressure from his controlling father, the captain. Meanwhile, why can't I say a single sentence? Meanwhile, Jenny bonds with Serena's younger brother, Eric, and Rufus must swallow his pride and ask Billy for a favor to help his son, Dan. And the title reference is the 1992 film, Poison Ivy.
Yes. Okay, so the first thing I wrote down for this episode, it's probably like the first thing you have written down too. I have choir version of Glamorous by the Pussycat Dolls.
I wrote glamorous a cappella. What?
Yeah.
What school would okay that?
Constance Billard.
I truly am like, that's such a, first of all, what and why? Why that song?
I mean,
that has nothing to do with anything.
But is it that far off from how they be living in that world?
I guess not.
I think it's interesting. Like, I love whenever they do like songs like that, like in shows where it like not foreshadowing, but kind of like, I don't know what the word would be.
Like alluding to how they actually live.
Yeah. But it's like in an unconventional way. Like it's like a weird way. I love that. I think it's fun. But it is very random for this show. Because like there's no other reference. There's the only other time they reference like the choir and stuff at Constance Billard is like a couple times because Jenny has like choir practice. And like other than that, they never bring it up again. They never really talk about it again. So it's kind of weird, but
there's also something about it where it feels very much like it's high, like it sounds very high school. Like it feels like, it almost feels like that was recorded live by those people because it doesn't sound polished. It doesn't sound,
which I like that. I think that's interesting. I think it adds to
It, it almost sounds a little off.
Yes.
Maybe it is. Maybe that's on purpose.
My next note that I have just says Nate in all caps with a heart.
Mine says Nate and Captain running in Central Park, which, like, okay, the last time I was in New York was almost exactly a year ago. It'll be a year ago in a couple days. And, you know, I was running in Central Park when I went there. And
I
it's
remember
truly
that.
like
You like
my
sent me your route and
dream.
everything.
I ran like 5 miles every time it went.
Yeah, you killed it.
I did. Oh, I loved it. And it was like cold, so it was nice to run.
Yeah.
And then using those bathrooms. Oh, God, I can't imagine using those bathrooms right now during like peak COVID times.
No, never. I've only used the bathrooms at Central Park like once, and I was like, no, I haven't even. I don't think. I think like every time
I've used them.
I would like find the closest like anywhere else.
I've used those bathrooms. I've used the ones by the Delacorte.
I'm too bougie for that. No, thank you.
I've definitely used the ones by the Delacorte. Yeah. Anyway, they're running, and the captain literally says at one point, he goes, "Here are your goals: Dartmouth, law school, Blair." And I'm like, this kid is 16.
Right.
What parent at 16 A, cares that their kid is in a relationship, and B, wants that relationship to be endgame? Like,
I mean, if it's benefiting him professionally, so that makes sense, because like he's working with Eleanor, like he's trying to get the contact with Eleanor for like business reasons, and so like that makes sense. But at the same time, you don't know that yet. And so it's like it's the weirdest dynamic on the planet. Like it's weird. It's very, very strange. But also for that, in that world, in that like societal group, it's really not that far off for like parents to have like boom, 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 this is who you're planning to marry because this is what'll do best for our family and their family. So like it's really not that weird, because it's very like that branch of society is very regal and very like royal in that sense. So like I'm really not that surprised.
Yeah, they're like really pushing Dartmouth on him. And then so I was wondering,
because that's where the captain went, right?
Yeah. And then I was wondering, just like Chase Crawford in general. Obviously, he's not teenage age in this.
No, he was 21.
And so I was looking, and I was like, I wonder if and where Chase Crawford went to college. And so I Googled it. He went to Pepperdine for a couple semesters before dropping out, where he studied broadcast journalism and marketing. Pepperdine? Holy Moses, that school is steep. That school is so expensive.
Really?
So it's in Malibu. It's in Malibu.
Oh, okay. I think that I can't ever remember who plays the captain. What's his name? He's in so much stuff, but like I never bother to look up who plays him.
I don't know.
But they have a really, really, really good father-son chemistry in this show. They always have. And I love that, because like I think the other like comparable pair would be Lily and Serena. Like I think Blake Lively and Kelly Rutherford have really good chemistry as like mother-daughter also.
Sam Robards.
One of them. Either way, I really like him, but I hate the captain. The captain.
Why is he so mad? Why is he called the captain?
Because he was a captain in the Navy or something like that.
Was he?
They said it in like the first or second episode. It was like a passing comment. I've just seen it so many times.
Interesting.
Yeah. But
weird. Yeah. But yeah, so I do think that he and Nate do have good chemistry. Because I think it works. I feel like everyone on the show has good chemistry. I think the show has good chemistry. I think all the characters, not only with each other, but also with the people who play their family, have good chemistry. I think it's definitely well cast.
I have heard rumors though that like Blake Lively for parts of season 1, I've heard that like her and Leighton didn't get along so well at first. I don't know how true that is, but like I've just heard it in
Oh yeah, I
passing.
mean, I've heard rumors that the two of them didn't get along. I don't know if it was just for
I've heard
season
that
one,
it
if it was
was
for the
because
whole show,
I've
or
heard it was because Blake Lively is very much Serena. Like I've heard that that was like she's very much playing herself, which I am not surprised by at all. But I mean, I don't know all the stories there, so I can't really speak to it, but that's just what I've heard on the internet.
yeah. So the next scene we have is them, is Serena and Blair, and
The lacrosse.
they're playing like lacrosse or field hockey or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And all I put was PE uniform has skirts.
They're
And
going to
like
private
it's
school.
yeah, but I went to private school for the beginning of
I went to a West
my
Coast private school.
yeah, but okay, here's my thing. I don't have anything against skirts. It's just practicality wise, it doesn't make sense. It's like I don't understand why women's sports require skirts. Like why do women have to wear skirts and dresses in tennis? And same with like golf and
I like the look of it, but that's
yeah,
just
well I do too, but
that's me being like
I don't
fashion
know.
over function though. Like
Yeah, exactly. But I'm more function over fashion.
yeah.
And so I'm like, it makes no sense that you have to wear a dress to play these sports.
I mean, but it's not
I
like
mean,
they're like really in the way skirts. Like they're made for the sport. So I don't know.
they're also like so short that no private school would actually allow that to happen.
And I love the like disgusting over accessorizing of all of it.
They all look perfect.
Like
Their hair is
Blair's
done.
wearing
Like they're not going to be sweaty.
Blair's wearing like a 4-inch thick red belt over hers, and like, oh my god.
And then she like fake hurts her ankle.
That was the fun. Okay, that's hilarious though. I thought that was so funny. Because
And
that
then
was
the
me
PE
growing up. I
teacher,
did that all the time.
and then the PE teacher is like, Serena, you're out of here. Where's she supposed to go?
Go sit on the sidelines.
I don't know. And then
I
I just have a note that says PE teacher. That PE teacher was doing way too much. He was trying to get in every shot.
Doing the most. He said, you know what? I'm trying to get my SAG card. He was like, I don't even have equity. I'm just trying to get my SAG card. I'm just trying to vibe.
Trying to join that union.
Do you ever think about that? Like, whenever you watch like weird like commercials or like something like that, and you're just like, oh, these people got their SAG card doing this.
Oh, absolutely.
I think about it
There
all
was
the time.
on the podcast Gilmore Guys.
Mm-hmm.
They brought that up a lot because like Gilmore Girls had like a lot of like weird random characters,
Mm-hmm.
and I love it. But they're like, I mean, this is probably somebody ASP was like, we'll just give this friend of mine their SAG card. I'm like, fair. You know what?
I would do that if I was like a casting director or something. I would do that.
Yeah.
I mean, who's it hurting? Like nobody.
No. But it's like you get one line, you say 3 words,
Right.
and you're in the scene, and then
you.
there you go.
You're in a union.
Except we know. We know. But then like the majority of the episode is about this like mixer between the Ivy League reps and the Billards and St. Jude's people, kids, students, I don't know.
Where well, St. Jude is they're the like what are they? They're not mentors.
Ushers.
Sponsors. Ushers. Is it what am I doing?
They call them ushers.
Are they okay? I don't know why I got this mixed up. Where it's St. Jude is ushering, like the St. Jude boys are ushering the reps, while the girls are mostly just like mingling with them. So it's like I don't think that the girls ever get assigned a specific person. They just kind of mingle with who they want to mingle with. That's kind of what I gathered from it. Because I don't
really make sense.
It doesn't at all. But the girls, Constance Billard is in charge of, like, the whole Constance Billard school is in charge of doing the event in the first place. So the boys are ushers, and Constance Billard is like putting on the event because Blair's in charge of like the charity stuff. Lily was doing like everything. Lily's like the most involved parent. So I mean, like, I don't know, like, I don't think it's very evenly distributed amongst the schools, but you know.
I have a note here that just says, I hate elitist education. And I hate I hate the idea that there are these six schools,
Six or
and
something like that, yeah.
if you don't go to one of these six schools, your life is over. Like, I'm so against the idea of a legacy admission. I'm against, oh my god, I'm just gonna sound like a total bitch. I am, and somebody who's like salty, and I am a little bit. Education is so expensive in the United States. It is so fucking expensive. I went to a public state school, and it's still, and I was lucky enough that I didn't have to take out any loans, but I also worked all through college. Yeah. I lived at home, and I went to community college for 2 years before moving into a state school. Yeah. So like, the idea that like one of my best friends went to USC for 4 years and she is in a lifetime of debt for it. I don't, it makes no sense. Like, why should people have to go into so much debt for an education? And then it's like what, $60,000-$70,000 a year to go to an Ivy League school. Like, that's what tuition is.
More.
And then tuition, yeah, okay, more.
Because that's like the in-state rate. Then you're like calculating out of
well, they're private schools, so I don't think private schools have in versus out of state tuition, do they?
Mm-hmm. It's not always drastically different, but some of them do. I think Yale does.
It's ridiculous. And their tuition is based on need rather than scholarship, like rather than like, oh, you met these requirements, whatever.
Yeah.
And so you're still pricing people out of educations, and I find it to be incredibly immoral. And then, you're paying for a name to have on your resume. And it's like, okay, well, I went to my friend who went to USC and I went to Cal State LA. Our schools are 12 miles apart, and I have no debt. She has a bunch of debt, and yet we have the same degree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, we both have BAs in communication.
Yeah.
And so I think I have a whole rant about education, the higher education system in this country, that I could go on and on for hours about. And I have.
See, I'm very, very grateful. I'm very lucky my parents pay for mine, so I don't enter the world in debt. That was like their kind of purpose. They did it for all four of us, because my mom is very smart with her money, because she worked for a credit union for a really long time. So like all four of us, we never had to pay a single penny. We never had to take out a loan, never had to do any of that for college. So I'm very grateful for that. But yeah, I agree.
My parents didn't have the luxury to save for my college education.
Yeah.
Because like living in California is expensive.
Yeah.
So they didn't have the ability. And so when I was a senior in high school and I was applying to all these colleges that I really wanted to go to, I got into all of them. And then they sat me down. They're like, hey, we can't afford this. And we refuse to allow you to go into $100,000 into debt because you have no concept of how much money that is.
Yeah.
And they're like, you have no concept as to how much money $100,000 is.
TBH,
And
I
we
still
refuse.
really don't.
They're like, we're not going to go into debt, and we refuse to allow you to.
Yeah.
So sorry, but you're going to community college for 2 years. And even then, like, I paid for my community college. Like, I paid for my classes. My parents paid for books and then transportation. So I took the train to Cal State LA, which I was very lucky that the train station was right by where my parents work. So I was just like dropped off on their way to work.
Awesome.
And then the station was the Cal State LA station.
Oh.
So I was dropped off right on campus, and it was like an hour every morning. But, you know, we made it work. Like, we were able to make it work. So my parents paid for my train ticket, but I paid my tuition. I paid for all of the other things I needed. But yeah, I'm just so against. And part of it is because, like, oh, I didn't get to participate in the quote unquote college experience, which I didn't. And I'm still a little like bitter about that. But at the same time, nobody should have to. It should not cost $60,000 for a semester or a year of school. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I am very much against elitist upper education. It's ridiculous to me. Yeah. My next note.
Yes.
Chuck in a stretch limo. I don't understand the point of a limo.
Chuck's limo like every episode.
Chuck in a stretch limo. I don't understand the point of a limo if you're by yourself. Just get a town car.
And that's the thing, is I think that at the time of when the books came out and when the show was being made, I think that a limo was just showing like, this is the height of luxury. He is able to do this. Like, he has the ability to have a limo take him to school every single day and take him home every single day, take him wherever the fuck he wants to go every single day. Whereas now, the height of luxury is a really nice like town car, SUV, or like now no one takes a limo anywhere because it's weird. Like, that's too much. You just don't do it.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I used to be obsessed with like riding in limos when I was a kid because I was like, that's the height of luxury. And Gossip Girl made me that way. It's because of Gossip Girl that I thought that. But then as I got older, I was like, why would I want to take a limo anywhere? Like, I'm like, and now like looking back on it, I'm like, I was an idiot. Like, I was such a stupid kid, because like now I'm just like, I want to take like just a really nice, I don't even know, just like a really nice SUV everywhere. I just want like a really nice car with a really nice driver to take me everywhere. I don't want to have to drive anywhere ever again.
Oh my gosh.
My control issues are like, you need to be the one to drive yourself everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So at this Ivy League mixer, we learned that Dan does not get the Dartmouth usher. He does not become the Dartmouth usher. It's Nate. Nate gets it.
And
Nate doesn't even want it.
But so here's my beef with this situation, with Dan in this situation. I have beef with Dan in every episode, but here's my beef with him in this situation. So what makes me so angry is the amount of times that, Nate is kind of an idiot. Like, he doesn't know.
I wrote down the line last year. I believe he had an original thought and it died of loneliness.
Of loneliness, yes. I like, my issue with this scenario on Dan's part is he's not taking into account, and he doesn't realize this until later on. And I do give him a lot, like, I do respect him a lot for later realizing, oh, Nate doesn't have it so great. His life is kind of sad. Like, his life kind of sucks. And I do appreciate that, but he never once apologizes. I think he apologizes to Nate for like little things, but he never apologizes for being completely incorrect about the way Nate lives. Like, he never, from what I can think of, he never flat out is like, the things I said to you, the things I said about you were terrible and wrong. I don't remember him ever saying anything involving that. But what bothers me the most is like, he's so aggressive to Nate in the conversations that they have. Like, you can be kind to someone while like explaining something to them. Like, you don't have to be rude about it. Nate was genuinely asking him questions about the Dartmouth rep, and Dan was like, "Oh, you don't know? Okay." I'm like, "Okay, not everyone is like doing heavy research into jail hall, you idiot. Like, no one, like, you're the only person, I'm pretty sure."
Also, like the idea that everybody would want to go to Dartmouth for the same reasons that Dan would want to go to Dartmouth. It's like, okay,
Right.
maybe he wants to learn more about biology than literature.
Right.
And so does like the fact that, yeah, it's a whole thing.
And
But the
and
fact that he like he's just
I also got mad because I was like, Dan immediately just completely assumed, oh, Nate did this because he has money. That's not entirely true. It happened to Nate because of his dad. It had nothing to do with Nate. It had everything to do with the
yeah,
capital.
and then Dan goes and complains about it to Rufus. And what does Rufus do? He barges into
It says, my son is
St. Jude.
entitled to a spot as an usher. My son deserves.
Exactly. But the thing is, Rufus just like finds a random woman and starts like yelling at her about this. And
Yeah.
apparently it's the right woman to like yell at her this whatever the words I'm trying to say are. I'm like, he's lucky he found the right person. He just found somebody who wasn't a child and started yelling at her.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, well, Lily doesn't like me, so I may as well just call it quits here. And then Lily says, well, your son can actually do this.
Yeah.
And Lily's actually like,
Lily is
at
the
least gives
definition
him.
of grace. Like, I
But the thing
love
is,
her.
she negotiated free entertainment
Yeah.
from Rufus,
Yeah.
and then um gives Dan a position. And if they were to, I mean, it's not a great position, it's not an usher like he wants, but
But
it kind of gives him the opportunity to mingle with every rep if they were to come to
right.
the punch bowl.
Right.
Yeah, not the best service position, but still,
Who cares?
at
And it
least it's
also
a
made me
position.
mad because like the whole point of Dan getting mad that he didn't get it was because Nate's dad got it for him. What did your dad do? The same exact thing, just for a different position. Like, it's so, oh my god, the Humphreys are so hypocritical. It makes me so mad. Everything they do is just like the poor version of what like Nate and Serena and Blair and Chuck get to do. Like, and they don't even realize it.
Yeah, and Serena does go on a mission to just screw Blair over with the Yale rep the entire time. And Dan isn't wrong when he says that Serena doesn't have to worry about getting into college. So why not make the whole evening about screwing over Blair?
Right.
He's not wrong,
He's not
but he
wrong.
shouldn't have said it like that.
No, that was really aggressive.
No,
Everything
none of
he
them
says is
have
so,
to worry about getting into college.
he's so violent in like everything that he says to these people. Like, he is just so unnecessarily aggressive in the way that he talks to them, and I don't get it. Like, you act like
Then he
people are
starts
your
to
friends.
turn. Then he starts to turn and then like realizes Nate is actually trying and actually gives real advice to Nate.
And do you know why? Because Nate is a good person.
Yeah, because Nate's just trying.
Nate is such
Nate,
like
he's just trying. Golden Retriever
poor
boy's
man.
trying.
I love him so much. I could
Golden
talk
Retriever
about
boy
Nate
is
Archibald
trying.
for hours. He was just the
And
best
I'm like,
character.
okay, well, is this the beginning of Dan and Nate's relationship or their friendship? Like, this is where I think Dan starts to like turn and realize, like,
Yeah.
oh, he might be genuinely interested in this, and I'm just being a jerk,
Yeah.
which he is 90% of the time being a jerk.
Yeah.
But the whole evening takes a turn because Blair and Chuck think that Serena is at the Ostroff Center when in reality it's
Eric.
Thank you. I could not remember his name.
My
My
favorite
brain kept. I'm trying to think of the name I was thinking of, but it wasn't. It was not Eric.
my favorite part of that entire thing is like, yeah, it was a low blow. I'm gonna say that right now. It was definitely a low blow. That was a little bit much. But then you put into perspective, Serena's been trying to sabotage Blair all night with the Yale rep. She has been fighting so hard to sabotage Blair the entire night. So part of me is like, Blair doing that is warranted. Granted, she was wrong, but it was warranted. Like, they're 16. Like, they're not going to be adults about the situation. Like, they're teenagers. So, like, yeah, she's going to go to like the lowest blow that she can possibly get. And then, but then as soon as Blair realizes the actual truth, she immediately is like, no, that was fucked up. I should not have done that because Eric is a good person. Because Eric is a good person. Serena, not so much, but Eric is a good person.
When Eric tells Blair that Serena wasn't the one when Eric tells Blair that Serena wasn't the one that was the Ostrom Center and it was him, and he like lifts up his sleeve and like shows that he has been doing self-harm, she's immediately changed. She's like, Eric, before he shows her that, she's like, Eric, come on, don't you and I are cool. Like, you don't need to be protecting your sister. And he's like, nah, I'm here to tell you straight what's happening.
Right.
And she does immediately change, and she realizes, oh shit, their life is difficult.
Which is something that
Blair, and I might not have all the information.
Right. Which is something that Blair has always done. Like, her character's always been that way, where the second she realizes, or the second she is about to do something and then realizes that this could be too close to home or this could hit a little bit too hard, she stops or she immediately apologizes if she's already done it. And I think that people don't talk about that enough. Like, Blair is not genuinely a bad person. She just makes bad choices. Because like, she's genuinely one of the most empathic characters in the show. Because she feels so deeply for everybody in the show in one way or another.
Yeah. She cares about her friends, and when she feels slighted, she's about to slight you right back.
Yeah.
But she deeply cares for everyone.
And even though
she's also manipulative and mean, but you know,
it comes with the territory of where she grew up and how she grew up. But it's like, even though her and Serena were on the outs, there was still not a single moment after Eric told her what happened that she wasn't like, I'm here for you. Like, she wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, she automatically went into like big sister mode with Eric. And I think that that's like, people don't discuss the good things that Blair does enough. Like, she is such a good person.
Because something that they talk about in a later episode is that Lily was absent from their life a lot of the time. And so Eric and Serena would oftentimes find themselves, you know, with a duffel bag and at the Waldorfs or the Archibalds.
Yeah.
So these families care for both of them. And so Blair, you know, not having any siblings growing up, probably does see Eric as a little brother.
Well, and then you have like, even with Chuck, like, then you have later in the show when Eric finds a lot to do with Chuck. Like, him and Chuck get along really, really well. Because again, Chuck is an only child. And so the second he gets siblings, yeah, him and Serena don't do so well, but Eric and him are very, very, very close. I love their relationship.
Actually, I would say when they become siblings, Serena is wary at first, but eventually he's like, yeah, I mean, he's my brother.
Well, yeah. I mean, but like, they get into a lot more tiffs than like Eric and Chuck do, is what I mean. Like, they have more of the brother-sister dynamic.
Yeah.
Like, you know. But I love Eric and Chuck's relationship.
Hold on.
Oh my god.
What? Do you want these? No. Okay. Thank you. It comes with the territory of living in a house with 3 other people. Always bothered by someone. Sorry, keep going.
But Eric and Chuck's relationship has always been one of my favorites throughout the entire course of the show. Like I just love because Chuck is so much softer with Eric. He's like that is his genuine soft side is when it comes to Eric. And I love that. Like a lot of people are like, he's his most vulnerable when he's with Blair. And I'm like, but look at him with Eric. Like he and Eric have such a good dynamic in the sense that they know each other better than most other people in the show do. And I don't think it gets touched on enough. Like I think that that needs to be discussed more. That is such a good relationship.
Yeah, and it's not Chuck taking advantage of Eric. It's the two of them actually bonding. It's
Yeah.
if when Eric is asked about it, he's like, "No, I like Chuck. Like he's
And
my
he's like,
brother."
if you're not around, like he tells Serena, he's like, well, you're never here for me, but Chuck is. Like I was going through, like at that point, he was like, I was going through a really low point in my life, and Chuck was there for me. No one else was.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, I don't know,
Yeah.
like I have my issues with Chuck, but like when it comes to Eric, I love Chuck. I love the way he treats him. It makes me so happy because
Yeah.
Eric is one of my favorite characters. Eric is such a good person in every way. Like he is just I love Eric. Not as much as I love Nate, but
Yeah.
we all know.
I just
I can't go a
it's
single
wild.
episode without raving about Nate Archibald.
But yeah, so going back to Blair, she immediately is like, shit, I've screwed up.
Right.
And then it leads to Bethesda Terrace in the rain, which is an iconic scene
That's my favorite
of
scene in the
her
whole
and
thing.
Serena reconciling and being like, look, you left me when I was in a very dark place. You left me without warning,
And
without
not even that, you
explanation.
left
My
me because you
father,
fucked my boyfriend. Like it was like, and you didn't
yeah,
have the
but
decency to tell me.
yeah, and she's like, my parents are going through divorce. All of a sudden, my father is in a relationship with a man. Um, and my best friend is gone, and
Yeah.
I was left to, my life was blown to pieces, and I was left to just pick it up, and I needed my best friend, and you weren't there, and I feel really bad about that. That is why I'm acting the way I'm acting.
Yeah.
So it's a very like iconic scene, but also I feel like Serena doesn't talk much in it.
She doesn't because she doesn't need to. Because it's not for Serena to explain herself. It's for Blair to be like, granted, Serena should have been explaining herself and her actions.
No, we
But
don't find out why she left for then at that point we only think the reason she left is because she slept with Nate.
right.
But
Well, but that's
that's
what
not the
I'm
full
saying.
story. She's still not giving the full story.
But that's what I'm saying is like even then she barely will talk about that. Like she barely will discuss with Blair that yeah, she did fuck up. She did sleep with Nate. Like that needs I wish Serena said more about that like that whole scenario because all Blair all Blair wants is loyalty. And I mean, who doesn't? Like that's like such a human thing. Like you just want people to be loyal to you.
But
And
loyal in a way that isn't minion like. She wants
she wants
genuine
genuine
friendship.
friendship. And it's like her issue with loyalty is also because that whole thing, she never had that issue until her dad left. And it was like her dad left and she felt abandoned. She felt like she did something wrong. Like she felt like she was to blame. She felt like her mom was to blame. She was blaming everybody. And then Serena left and it was just like, you know, like her entire life fell apart. And so it's like she had every right to just sit there and like scream. Like I never once was like she doesn't deserve to do this, like she doesn't have a need to. Because like that was the one thing that she needed to do. She needed to scream at Serena. I wish more people would just scream at Serena about how they feel about the things that she's done. Um
And I feel like in
and the microphone's messed up.
Hello?
Yeah, you're
You
good.
back?
Yep.
And I feel like in that meeting, in that scene, you have Blair realizing my life was going to shit, but so was yours, and you handled it the way you thought was necessary. and I'm just now, and she's so hurt that the way that, like, not only was it Serena kind of betraying her, but also not thinking that their friendship was strong enough to withstand, not that not that necessarily you should forgive somebody for sleeping with your boyfriend, but Blair was like, my world is falling apart, I need my best friend. And Serena wasn't like, my world is falling apart, I need my best friend. Serena was like, my world is falling apart and I screwed over my best friend and now I need to bounce.
Yeah, and it's like,
It's like a weird thing where Blair didn't feel needed.
yeah, and what always bothers me about like the whole situation with Blair and Serena at the beginning of the show is Serena apologizes for what she does, but she never truly holds herself accountable. She never genuinely admits that she was completely in the wrong for things. You know what I mean? Like sleeping with Nate,
Yeah, because
yeah, that
later
was on both
in
of
a
you.
later.
But it's like, but at the same time, Nate's already taken responsibility for how he fucked up. You need to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not enough to
and
say you're sorry.
and yeah, it's a whole weird dynamic that I think is, I keep wanting to say, for a CW show, it's pretty like full of heart, but
Mhm.
for a CW show, it's very full of heart.
Yeah. And I mean, like, the other CW shows that I've watched are like Arrow and Flash and Supergirl, those things. So, like, and Arrow
Mm-hmm.
hasn't, I will say this though, Arrow has my entire heart. That show is so good. I miss it when it was like season 4 and earlier because Arrow was so good for the first 4 seasons. But it's just like, I watched Gossip Girl was like the first CW show that like I remember watching because like there wasn't a lot for people when I was like 8 years old. There wasn't a lot for like kids on the CW. There still really isn't. But um that was like the first CW show I remember watching. And that was kind of my view on the CW for a while. And then I got into like Arrow and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, they make other things that aren't like teen dramas and like stuff like that. However, I will say this, Katie Keene is such a good show. And I really want to get caught
Is
back.
it?
It's so good because I don't like Riverdale, but I love Katie Keene because Katie Keene feels more Gossip Girl than Riverdale, even though it's the
Mm.
Riverdale spinoff. I love Katie Keene. I'm obsessed. It's so good. And it's like Gossip Girl. It's one of my favorite things about it is I say it's more like Gossip Girl because fashion plays such a huge role in the show. And like fashion in Gossip Girl is like its own character. So like I don't like everything about Katie Keene is just better written than Riverdale. Like everything about it is just so much better than Riverdale in my opinion. I've only seen a few episodes of Riverdale, but whatever. But like my thing with Gossip Girl is like for the most part, yeah, the characters are problematic. Yeah, they're toxic for each other, but it's a dysfunctional family. Like they talk about that a lot. Like there's the episode at the end or the middle of the season or end of the season when we find out the real reason Serena left, and it was like and Blair says, like we're the non-judging breakfast club. Like that's literally what they refer to themselves as because like yeah, they're all dysfunctional and they like are so toxic for each other, but they never genuinely judge each other because they still love each other more than anything. And they judge each other for like, obviously they do judge each other, but they don't ever judge each other to the point of where they feel like their character is being called into question. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
they would go to bat for each other.
yeah,
They all love each other so much.
yeah.
But yeah,
It was a good episode.
um,
Love that episode.
it was the last like random stray note I have is Rufus joking about joining Dan at school. Um, that hit too close to home. Every time I say I'm gonna move to some place, my mom's like, "Well, you better make sure that there's room for me."
Oh
I'm
no.
like, no, love you, mom, but no, no, no,
One of there's another part of this episode that like I'm gonna bring it up in every episode because it happens in every episode of the show. But it's like I can't remember exactly what the quote was at the beginning of the episode, but it was like Dan saying, oh, he's like, I don't have a trust fund to fall back on. And it's like, how many times do I have to hear that you're poor? Like, how
That
many
you're
times?
poor.
Right.
In
Like,
quotes.
how many times do we have to discuss the fact that you are poor for someone living in a loft in Williamsburg? Like, I don't like, oh, it makes me so angry. Oh, it drives me nuts. Anyway, whatever. Anyways, is there anything else from this episode, Katie?
Nope. That's about it.
Yeah,
That's all I have to say.
this episode was so good, but it was like there wasn't a lot to like discuss.
Rather, this is the first episode. Granted, it's the third episode.
Yeah.
It's the first episode where it's not all exposition,
Mhm.
action, end. It
Yeah.
was kind of like steady throughout.
Yeah.
It felt like they were really starting to get their groove.
Yes. This is the
So, yeah.
first episode that I remember loving. Like, this was like when I was watching it way back when. This is the first episode I remember like finishing and being like, that was a good episode. Because, like, yeah, obviously I liked the first two because I kept coming back to watch it. But it was like, this episode was like, this is a good episode. This is a good show. Like, I loved this episode. This is one of my favorite episodes in season 1. Like, I go back to this episode all the time.
Yeah.
My favorite episode in this season, though, is the one where we find out why Serena really left. That's such a good episode. So good.
That's not season 1, is it?
Mm-hmm.
That's season 1?
Yeah. Blake Lively is so good in that episode. Like, I love.
She's just crying the entire time.
But like,
she's like frustrated and crying. She's like frazzled.
She's so good in it. Like, I love that, and I love Ed Westwick, and everyone in that episode is so good. I just love that episode. It's so good. It's my fave. Anyways, okay. Is that all we got?
That's all we got.
All right. Well, we are now on TikTok officially.
Heck yeah, we are.
What is it? The Ultimate Insiders?
I believe so. Let me see.
Okay.
Yep, the Ultimate Insiders.
We're at the Ultimate Insiders on TikTok and Instagram. My personal social media is at It's Jill Hayes on everything.
And I am at Complete Katie on Instagram and Katie Fornia on TikTok.
Yeah.
So follow us there.
Yeah. Until next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.